We're just about to head out. We're meeting at the church. We got everybody around in the circle. Sheila, how you feeling?
I'm good.
You nervous about anything?
I mean, returning is immigration, but
That's
otherwise,
yes.
but otherwise,
Hopefully
I'm feel okay. I'm
everything goes
excited
smoothly.
about it.
Te alabo en el valle, te alabo en el monte, te alabo en el día, te alabo en la noche, te alabo en el medio, estando rodeado, porque cuando alabo, tú estás a mi lado. Mientras tenga aliento, mi alma cantaría, alaba a Dios, mi corazón.
Hey, Elmo. Good to see you, man.
Te alabo al sentirlo, y aun cuando no, te alabo y sé que estás en control. Es más que un sonido, es adoración. Y cuando alabamos, caerá Jericó. Mientras tenga aliento, mi alma cantaría, alaba a Dios.
We got Karen, Maurice. Guys, say hello. Hello. We got Angie. We got Mari. Jess. As we're going to keep on going. We have Kat moving around, keeping it together. We got our ladies here preparing our lunch. And we got Brandon over there washing dishes.
Danzando, alabando, alabando. Alabo al que reina, alabo al Señor, alabo a aquel que la tumba venció, alabo al que es bueno, alabo al que es fiel, alabo porque no hay otro como él, alabo al que reina, alabo al Señor, alabo a aquel que la tumba venció, alabo al que es bueno, alabo al que es fiel, alabo porque no hay otro como él. Mi corazón, mi alma, alaba a Dios. Mi corazón, mi alma.
Mamá, aquí en la iglesia, ahí hacen actividades, ahí hacen, no sé, tienen comedor de comida y cosas así.
Poderoso, invencible, admirable, grande, fuerte, Dios, Rey de Reyes.
Crossing the bread.
Eres increíble, todopoderoso, grande, eres increíble. Venciste las tinieblas, Cristo exaltado estás.
One of the most important elements of bringing a missions trip, or taking a missions trip rather, to a foreign mission field, is the fact that you're able to connect faces, experiences, tastes, even smells with your support check that you send every month.
Ay, no manches. Vamos a intentar otra vez. Pero gritando, ¿ah? ¡Gritando! Okay. Uno, dos, tres.
About who we are and what we did over in Tijuana. Before we get into our questions, would you mind introducing yourselves?
I can go first. Hi, my name is Jessie, and
Hi,
I've
Jessie.
been. Hello, everyone. I can't see all of you because of the lighting, but I've been coming to this church for about 2-3 years now, and this is my second time going to Tijuana. We can talk about that a little bit more in detail soon. But I love this church. I found it on Google during COVID, and we never left. So here's my husband.
I'm Daniel. My wife found this church, as she mentioned. I started coming, and then the kids loved it, and she started coming. And now you'll see me most days on Sundays in the parking lot.
So you guys said that this was your second time. Thank you, Brittany. This was your second time going to Tijuana. Could you guys talk about, first of all, I don't want to assume, because I actually told a couple people, I was like, oh yeah, we went to Tijuana. And they were like, where is Tijuana? What is Tijuana? Why did we go there? Why is that a place that people might be interested in knowing about?
I am not good at geography, so I had to look it up. I knew that was somewhere else outside of the U.S. So I looked up Tijuana, and it is right at the border. I mean, literally, you drive to San Diego, and it's 44 minutes to Mexico. So it is very busy. A lot of U.S. folks, a lot of Mexicans go back and forth, and it's a really big commerce area. At the same time, there's a lot of drug cartels that are going there, and it's poor. And so there are a lot of different kind of needs that we can help to provide for the kids and the churches that are in the area.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I don't know if you guys noticed, but in that video, we showed it for like a second. We zoomed in on one of the hills, and you can literally see the border. You can see the big wall that they have there, which it was quite the experience actually seeing it in person. Yeah, so definitely a place of need, definitely a place. One of the things Pastor Elmo, the pastor that we work with down there, talked about was because it's so close to San Diego, but right over the border, there's that tension, that friction of immense wealth next to immense poverty, which it's a complicated place to live, especially if you're on the poverty side. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of reasons why someone might go to Tijuana in general. Why did you guys personally go to Tijuana? Yeah.
Well, good question. My wife Jessie and I have been involved in missions probably for 14, maybe 15 years now. And at a prior church, we went to Guatemala on many different trips. She would go, after we had kids, she would go in the summer and I would go in the winter. So when Pastor Ron and Michelle gave us the opportunity to explore Tijuana, they asked whether our church could be of a benefit to Pastor Omo and Kat in their church. And we were absolutely convinced that there is a need for ministry in that location. So that's why I went.
And just continuation from what Dan was talking about, I think God has placed Tijuana in our hearts also, because last year when we were looking to scope the area, God had his hand in Michelle, because if we didn't go to the church, we wouldn't have gone to San Diego to get her, checkup. And Pastor Ron's like, hey, we're in the area anyway. Why don't you get yourself checked? And that's when we discovered that she, her breast cancer came back. So in God's great plans, he just put everything in motion. So we just went along with the ride. And of course, this year, that opportunity came knocking, and we said, yes, of course we're going to go. So Kat and Elmo, they have a great heart for missions, and they also happen to be there because of other regions. But we can get into that a little.
Absolutely. Yeah, but just building off what you said, personally, it was really, really cool to get to go there. Um, my mom, like she said, found out that she had cancer again, and just in case you guys don't know, since then she's gotten clean scans, perfectly healthy. Couldn't be happier. It's a gift from God. So yeah, thank you Jesus for that. But it was a tough moment. It was a scary moment for our family, especially because when she found that out, she was thousands or hundreds, I don't know how many, yeah, definitely thousands of miles away from the rest of the family, and so supporting her and supporting each other was it wasn't easy. But one of the things that was really beautiful was we got to sing and pray and have some really powerful moments in their church, in their sanctuary. It's a lot like this building, just a lower ceiling. And after it, I just remember there was a time we were all singing together, and we were praying for one of the people in our group. It was probably the highlight of the trip. And afterwards, one of the pastors came up and said, "Hey, this is where we prayed for your mom too." And in the exact same spot where we were sitting, they showed me a picture of all the ladies of the church, all the elders, all the pastors gathered around with their hands on my mom, praying for her in that very spot. They had gone before and I guess planted seeds that we then got to experience. It was beautiful. I know I'm supposed to be asking questions, but yeah, of course, I will chime in. But as you can see, there were 12 of us, and all shapes and sizes, ages. Did you know anyone on the trip before we were a team? How did that happen?
Other than this guy, not really. But we did have 12 weeks of training every Wednesday prior to leaving. And that's when we got to know each other. We shared each of our testimony. And, God made us into
I
a
love that.
cohesive group. Even though everybody, like you said, different shapes, sizes, walks of life, and, like new Christians, old Christians, all kinds. And we were somewhat hesitant in the beginning, but, we said, hey, we're just not going to filter out anybody who wants to go because God has his own plans, and that was the right decision.
Wow.
I had the benefit of knowing a few people. I knew some of the men through the men's breakfasts. We were having them like every other month on Saturday mornings. So I got to meet a couple of the men who eventually came on a trip. I have a couple more in mind that I want to bring next time around. And I knew some of the ladies from just their kindness out in the parking lot. So serving was a way that I got to know some of them previously, but I really didn't know many of them well. And when you do this, and we go and we do training every Wednesday night, part of what we did for the training was we wanted everybody to give their testimony. So each week, one of our team members would give their testimony. If you can't give your testimony in front of your brothers and sisters in Christ, how are you going to give it out in Tijuana, right? So we convened an environment that made it easy for them to share. And because they were opening up their hearts to us, their fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, that began to build our relationship with them.
Absolutely, yeah. Was that on purpose, the 12 weeks of preparation for the 12 members? That's beautiful. That's nice.
Was it? I think it was coincidence, but God's plan.
God on purpose, yeah.
I mean, we wanted to do 12 weeks. If we had more than 12 members, we would have still crammed it into 12 weeks.
Okay, very nice. But that is
Members,
poetic.
that was
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
12 disciples.
Love
Yeah. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about what the preparation for the trip was like and how we spent a lot of time praying before we went. What were some of the things we prayed for, or not just we, what are some of the things you prayed for, and how did God answer?
So because we've been to many different mission trips, and in those situations where nothing is easy. You have people who needed medical care, but they didn't have anything like that. So we were solely dependent on God and His miraculous signs and wonders from prayers. And so last year when we went, I saw the people, and I had a question in my mind thinking, hey, is God going to do the same thing? But I just left it up to Him. Whatever He wanted to do, we, were there as a vessel for Him. But He just showed Himself like exponentially. It just exceeded my expectations that much more. So yeah, I'm just so grateful to be part of the mission trip that we just saw a lot of miracles. And we're very grateful that we were able to experience that.
Prayer was a big component of the training. Each night as we were finishing up training, we went around the table and asked for prayer requests. And then in there, we prayed for each other. The other thing that we did was most of the team members set an alarm for 9 o'clock at night so that they can pray for one another. I personally was praying for specific team members that they would feel more bold in their faith, to be able to share their faith, and kind of like to come out of their shell or open up their shell. I also prayed a very important prayer that our team would be unified. And for 12 people who, like Colin mentioned, are coming from all different backgrounds, ages, shapes, sizes, whatnot, we were extraordinarily unified. Our love for each other started growing on day one, and it's still growing even after we're back now. They're still texting us, in our group chat, which is neat.
How about you?
Yeah, one of the things that I prayed for was that I would have some really deep conversations, because there's a lot of activity that you do when you're just on a missions trip. You really aren't making many decisions, especially if you're just on the team, right? You're just, oh, we need to do this. Okay, I'm in. Your job is just roll with the punches and help in any way you can, because that's why you came, right? But I just prayed, because I've been on a couple missions trip before. I prayed that God would help me find connection with a few people that would just go a little bit deeper. And almost immediately, I felt drawn. Other people felt drawn, I think, to myself. Yeah, I made some really good friends, which is crazy for just a week. But that's what I was going to say. I was thinking about the unification. Because, it sounds like, oh, yeah, unified, very churchy. But when you go on a missions trip, you are with these 12 people 24 hours a day. They are sleeping on the bed next to you. They are stealing your toothpaste. I was stealing other people. I left my toothpaste here. So it really is, you guys know how it is with your family. You spend like 3 hours with them and you're at each other's throats, right? But the same thing can happen with the with the missions team. So it was just beautiful to see how even with the daily bumps and bruises, everyone was in good spirits. Yeah, some of those were literal bumps and bruises. Yeah. Was there anything you guys were nervous about with this Tijuana trip? And part two, how did God show up for that?
You can take that one.
Okay. I wouldn't say, I would say, kind of leading the team, that I was nervous whether or not we would be a united group, or anybody would literally have last minute jitters and not show up. I turn that all over. Certainly, you hear about how crime-ridden Tijuana is at the moment, and I was concerned that we would get pulled over and maybe shook down by the police, that we would encounter some challenging individuals outside the campus because of the amount of deportations, certainly being concerned as an American that might be held against me. We didn't encounter any of that. We turned it over to God, left our safety in God's hands. If He called us to go, which He did, we plainly put our trust in Him that He would take care of our entire path while we were down there. So in one instance, we were out near the border handing out food, and a lot of people came over to get food, and yet they were very receptive. Some of them were receptive to being prayed over. Others just wanted to talk and be blessed by having something good to eat.
I would echo what he said. When you go on your mission trips or anything that's godly, the enemy likes to attack you, and especially your family. And, last times we went on mission trips, a car accident or somebody getting very sick. So those fears really crept into my head, especially since I have little kids. But I also just let God handle it. And, even when his mom got into a car accident, I mean, the lady is like a phoenix. She, cancer survivor, and with this car accident, she broke several ribs and broke her finger, but she recovered 110%. So again, just leaving up to God, and he delivered. So,
Yeah,
just
that's wild.
amazing.
Yeah, I would just say, just because we did get to know each other really well through those weeks of preparation, I will absolutely say that there were attacks, I would say, against a lot of our team. I would even say most of the team. So if you wouldn't mind praying for them, if it comes to mind, because there's still people, there's still situations. If you ask them, I'm sure they'd be happy to open up. But it was real. One of the things that I was nervous about was that we were going over to help them with a summer camp. They were running a VBS style event, a little camp, and it was specifically for kids with special needs. None of us had done that before, and it was the first time the church was doing it too. So I felt, first of all, that's a lot of work. That's a difficult thing to do for anyone. But then also, this is the first time we as a church have gone over with a team like this, and God willing, we want to go back a lot more times. And so I was nervous, like, oh man, if we mess it up this first time, we're gonna mess it up for everybody for generations to come. So I just prayed that would go smoothly, and honestly, God really showed up. The kids were honestly such a joy to work with. Hardly ever any difficulty. They just really were soaking up the love, any affection. It was beautiful, and none of the nightmare things that I was worried that, oh, what if this happened? None of it happened. Not a bit. We just had a great time. Yeah. So praise God for that. Okay, this one you guys can handle. What did a regular day serving in Tijuana look like?
So I think they gave you a glimpse of what the men's room looked like. We had the ladies' room. We had 2 rooms. We had bunks and 1 bathroom for 7 ladies. So it was very hectic. We took, nighttime shift for showers and morning shifts for showers. So depending on your schedule, if some folks were taking showers in the morning or at night. So we would get ready. We'll do our daily devotions, make coffee, and then head out, and breakfast promptly at 8:30, and we would have our breakfast and help clean up, do the dishes, and then get ready for whatever event we had available for that day. So if it was a kids camp, which was majority of the time, that started so it's Mexican time. So it was supposed to be 9, then it went to 9:30, then sometimes it's 10, or whenever the kids ended up showing up, we were ready for them. And I think we had 40 to 50 kids at any given day. And, we just helped our main teachers. We did our worship, and we went to our areas to, help with the kids. And like Colin was saying, I was just so impressed with how the kids handle themselves, especially the little ones were like 4 to 6 year olds. when I see it, even with my kids, they're fighting over every little thing. But there, we had one glue stick. Sorry, Caius, he's mad at me right now. He's giving me the eye. Um, we had one glue stick for two kids, and they would just go back and forth and share. And I thought that was just so beautiful because, they're just like nice and they share, and, like we can learn a lot from that because they have so little, but they were so grateful. So, yeah, after that, we let the kids go and we had our lunch. And then we did our work projects. So you saw some of the videos. One day we did like a regrading of the sidewalk. One day we did, the majority of the guys did like the framing of the signage, which was like really impressive. They took a steel beam, welded it in like perfect angles and put it up, and it didn't fall down. So that was awesome. And the girls, some of us helped, some of us went shopping. We took several hours buying the perfect piñatas for the kids. So it was a lot of fun. I probably missed a bunch of things, but that was a day.
Yeah, I would say one of the other things that we did a couple of times where we would partner with a ministry or we would do home visits. One of the highlights of the trip definitely for me was one of the guys who worked for the church for Center Shalom. His name is Manny, and we got to meet his mom and his sister and his wife and the whole family, and he shared his testimony with us. And it was beautiful. Hearing from him how it started with his little sister. His little sister started going to this church because they would play games and they would feed them. And it started just as that. She was little. She was 4, I think, 3 or 4. And she would go, Mom, can we go to church? They have games. They have activities. Let's do it. And, they weren't believers. They had nothing like that involved in their life. But they started going. And one thing led to another. And now he works there. And now he proclaims the gospel. Now he loves on kids who show up. And he feeds those kids. It was just really wonderful and powerful. Yeah.
One more thing, if I may add. The first day we got there, we partnered with the other church, and they donated 200 backpacks. And this is just, around back to school, and the kids, they don't even have running water in the house. So they were just so thrilled to get these backpacks and to see the smiles in their face. It was just amazing. And so, we gave away 160 backpacks, I think, on Sunday. But it's just very memorable to me that, little things go so long in those countries.
Absolutely. I have no idea why they put the ladies in the place where they did and had the guys. We had like 4 different showers available to us. They had one.
And they were hot.
Yeah, we had warm showers. They had to take cold. Very, very bad manners, but it was the Lord's will, I guess. Yeah. I'm not going to argue. They told us there are showers. We can't change it now. Yeah, so most of what we did, the heart of what we did was working with these kids. What age did you guys work with, and what was your strategy? How did you go about connecting with them?
I was reassigned to the 3rd and 4th graders. And you might think, 3rd and 4th graders, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. Well, because many of the kids had learning challenges, the 3rd and 4th graders turned out to be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and even a 13-year-old. My role, because mi español is muy pobre, my Spanish is very poor, my goal was to listen to the teacher, because I do understand what she was saying, and then help her implement whatever the activity was that we're doing. So she, to her credit, tried to do activities to make them concentrate, listen, think, and speak. And when I could join in with those activities, when my Spanish skills were at that level, I would. And we had the largest group. There was 20 kids, and so there was 4 or 5 of us from the team assisting the teacher, and we would just sit down next to different kids every day and just try to get them to be comfortable with us and to get to know us. And even if you don't speak Spanish, those kids can see God's love through you. It's inevitable that they can see it through you, and they're just drawn to it.
So I had kindergartners, so anywhere from 4 to 6. And my role was just more of a support person. I'm totally not a teacher, so God bless all the teachers. I don't have any tangible skills, and I don't speak Spanish very well. So I just loved on the kids. I hugged them. I provided some care, and they felt very comfortable with me. And one of the boys, Santiago, he shared with me that his brother hits him, and 14-year-old, and just things like that are very upsetting. And I was able to pray with him and give that information to the pastor so they can handle that. And I got to know another boy, and praying for him, and his mom also was Mateo was kind of reminded me of Caius, so I kind of connected with him more and just loved him. And
He was the one wailing on the piñata, by the way.
yeah, he was just so cute. So I got to know his mom, and she was very sweet, and we just prayed over her family. They were worried about Matea's having some issues and her health and her husband not coming to church. So just emotional support and prayers.
I worked with the 6th and 7th graders, I think there were. They were the biggest ones. My Spanish is actually pretty good. We had a nice spread. About half of us spoke Spanish. The other half were learning to speak Spanish. That's what we'll say. But it was really wonderful that God kind of put us all in situations where that didn't really stop us. And even the people who were just solo habla inglés, God used them for sure. That's not just a line. So I was working with the older kids. My main strategy was play soccer, and it worked really well. I think with older kids, you want to show them that you're cool first, that you're chill, and because they act kind of cool at first, but then once you start playing games, once you show that you're a little bit of fun, they warm right up to you. Yeah. We worked a ton with the staff of Centro Shalom. Centro Shalom, we worked with them. Who are they, and what were they like?
So just to describe the dynamic duo that's Kat and Elmo, I don't want to get into too many weeds because there's just so many testimonies and stories. Like Elmo, he's been a missionary for a very long time and was doing the job in Peru, got kicked out. Kat separately was a result of a rape, and she, came up to the challenge, adopted, and she connected with her biological mom, and they all connected. And so now she goes to speak about, having children and just connecting all the families together. So she's also doing amazing things. So then they also adopted a little girl, and she's in a lot of our pictures because she's so sweet.
Yeah, she's cute.
Hadley. So they have a boy, Cinco, and Hadley. The 4 of them are family, and then they hired these other staff members that are also just went through their own challenges. Colin talked about Manny. He was part of a gang. There are other stories like that, but they all kind of came together under God's provision and helping to run the church. Olivia is another person, and many others.
What were some of the biggest needs and challenges, and how did you see them personally? It's very easy to think, oh yes, of course we know there are poor people. Of course we know that there's great need. It's difficult there, but we got to see it. We got to meet those people, and what kind of stuck with you?
So we were doing a craft, like a Mexican Play-Doh, basically flour and water, and the kids were playing. And at the end, we said, hey, do you want to take this to go? One of the boys said, no, I can't because I don't have running water to wash my hands. So that really broke my heart. And I, we are, um, we take things for granted here and over there. The kids, they don't have running water. They're living in these shacks. They don't have food sometimes, and, their parents are not around, no electricity. So, we just try to pray with them and be loving when they were with us. And at one point, we were not playing, we were working outside in the.
You were playing.
Yeah, okay, I fess up. So we were outside doing the grading, and, there's a lot of dirt, and we were trying to temper down the dust. So we had a water spray. And these kids came out from the neighborhood. I mean, I think they probably didn't have running water in the house. And this is like the first time running in the sprinkler. I mean, we just hosed them down. They were just having the time of their lives. So we spent a lot of time just hosing them down, having fun in the water. So, that sort of comes to mind. It's just really unfortunate. Some of the kids, they go through a lot of those struggles. And at 6 years old, he's got to think about, no, I don't have running water, so I can't wash my hands. I can't imagine that, for our kids. And, that just really breaks my heart. And so we try to support as much as we can.
Certainly trying to address the needs of the kids that were apparent to us were struggling with learning, trying to keep them focused, trying to get them to think and speak. I guess the thing that bothered me spiritually in my heart. In the wall of the cafeteria, there's pictures of all the kids that the church serves that comes to church. Not all of them, but they have a wall of kids that are coming to church, and some of them we recognized have grown up and are now doing other things. Well, on the wall were 4 orphans. A brother and a sister, which I didn't get to meet, but two boys, 15 and what would you say Rodolfo was, 16, 17?
Yeah, he was 15, 16.
Yeah, Rodolfo was probably 16. With Mateo? No.
No, and then Cesar.
Cesar.
He
yeah.
was probably
He was-
13.
yeah. So here's these 2 boys, not a single family member alive, right? Not a single family member alive. So I was trying to Colin and I were just trying to be big brothers to them
Yeah.
and pray for them. Because that's pretty much all I can do is pray the Lord will look over them. They live in an orphanage 2 blocks away. So, certainly we pray that the church has a strong relationship with that orphanage so that those kids will come out and be fed physically and spiritually.
Yeah. You stole mine. That's what I was gonna say. No. One of the other things was at the border. There's a whole industry. There's a whole thousands of people who make their livelihood selling things, buying things from people who are crossing the border. Because there's what is it, 100,000 people each week who cross the border for work. And so there are people out there, with their babies or elderly people who are just trying to sell anything, just trying to do anything. And so we went out one day and we just had, a bunch of meals. I think it was somewhere from 70 to 100. It wasn't a ton, but it was what we had. We brought some tea, some water for them. And we went out there, we were praying for them. And so there's a whole bunch of people who came to us because we found a little spot and we were able to love on them well. But there were a group of us who realized that oh man, there are a ton of people who can't leave the line, that they have to stay there, and they're just sitting in the sun. There was the moms with the babies was the ones that really got to me or whatever. And so we took one of our, like, you know, those jugs that you put Gatorade in it. We tried to put as much tea or drink in it that we could, and because we ran out of food quick, and we just went around trying to give out as much water as possible. And we were out there for a long time, and we ran out of cups. But then just a random stranger just donated to us a bunch of cups, so we were able to keep giving stuff out. And I kept praying as we were out there. I was like, God, please don't let us run out of the water. Please don't let us run out of the tea. And it was great because people kept coming back for refills, and I was like, do we have enough for refills? I don't want to say no to these people because they're thirsty, but we only have so much. But we didn't say no to anyone for refills, and I don't know if it was a miracle or maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Maybe, but it seemed like something weird happened to me because we never ran out of the iced tea. And when we got to the end, were you going to say this? We had to dump out iced tea because there was still extra there. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Nope. And it was such a small, specific thing that I was praying for. So that one really stuck in my head. Yep. Yeah. Kind of wrapping up this conversation. I hope this was interesting for you guys. I hope it wasn't just us sort of jumping back and forth, but this was a really wonderful thing. I genuinely think that our church loved on those people really well, and I think it was a wonderful thing. Real quick, did God speak to you in any really cool ways through this trip? One of the things that we would do each night, we would get together as a team and we would talk about our Jesus moments. We would share Jesus moments, times where you saw Jesus, where Jesus spoke to you, something like that. It could be really small or really big. Yeah. What was your favorite Jesus moment?
So I would say that with Jesse and I having probably the most mission experience, except for maybe Colin, growing up, right? I would say that for me, it was seeing the development of our team and how people became bold in their faith, particularly Gabby Lopez and Karen. The two of them were literally in the streets trying to engage with anyone they can. They were using their Spanish speaking skills to engage with people. And for me, that was a big Jesus moment because certainly working with the kids and praying over the kids, we didn't have necessarily a lot of opportunity to share Jesus directly with them other than through loving them and caring for them in that respect. But Karen and Gabby in particular were literally on the hunt for souls. And that's really what we train to do. And that's what you would learn if you're interested in coming on a missions trip. That's kind of what our focus is, to train you on how to reach people, not just in Tijuana, but in your own home.
I think in the similar veins, just team members stepping up in boldness. That's what we've been praying for. And, you know, we have some shy people in our group, but we prayed for spiritual sensitivity. So I think, you know, we recognize when somebody was in trouble, we would go out of our way to reach out and ask them, do you need a prayer? Normally, you know, we're just so shy. We don't do that. But there, we were very emboldened. And I was very proud of the team for doing that. And then I guess for me particularly, for one of our members, and I don't want to steal her thunder because she's going to do her testimony. I mean, that just blew me away. Yeah. Just, you know, her life and what she changed over this trip was just amazing. And, you know, like there's a lot of spiritual element to it. You know, she saw darkness and, you know, we prayed over her and she, you know, after the trip, she said the darkness is not following her anymore. So, like, praise the Lord for doing these miraculous things as we, like, go in faith and ask for God to change us, not just the people that we're seeing and touching, but just within ourselves. And, you know, I think people have grown, like, that much more in their faith. So I encourage everyone to jump in and go on a mission trip.
That's wonderful. On that note, would you want to go back again? I already know the answer, but would you want to go back again? And what would you recommend to someone interested in going, curious of what that would look like, or maybe nervous, or it's just something new?
So certainly you can sign me up again. I'll do whatever the church needs me to do. If you have an interest in missions, pray about it. Start now, praying about it. It's not an easy process. I'm not going to stand up here and say, oh, just sign up and it's 12 weeks. It's a lot more prep involved. There's a financial commitment. You just can't go on a missions trip. It's not like the church can afford to send us all for free. So there's a financial commitment. There's a physical commitment because we do things like fast. We will fast for a day or we will fast for a meal. So there's a physical commitment. And obviously showing up to the training is a physical commitment. There's a spiritual commitment. We're praying for each other and we're studying the Bible together to learn. We're opening up to each other. Our missions team also functioned as our small group. So if you haven't been involved in a small group, that's kind of like getting together people from church and talking about spiritual concepts, studying the Bible, and praying for each other. So we had the benefit of converting our missions training to also a small group consisting of the 12 of us. And that I think is a fantastic dynamic. So next year, I certainly want to go, certainly want to expand upon the foundation that that the Lord has laid through Pastor Elmo and Kat, and hopefully do more, have more impact in the city of Tijuana.
Yeah, sign me up, 100%. Maybe next year we'll have 24 instead of 12 and have like a bigger team. And I mean, I would love to see some kids go too, because I think it's such a eye-opening experience to see what you have here and what the kids have there, and just, being grateful for what you have. And, you've been there as a young kid in a different country. Just kind of being spiritual, being sensitive to God, and like taking that faith walk, because you're scared, but at the same time you know that God has your back, and so you just keep going, and highly encourage everyone to take a step.
I love that. Yeah, and one thing I would remind everyone, even though you might not go to Tijuana, missions isn't, or I should say, spreading the gospel isn't just something for a small percentage of the church to do. That is for everyone, period. Jesus commands it. This is part of the mission of what it means to be the church, is to go and make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's what we do. And if that sounds crazy or weird to you, maybe that's a clue that the goodness of who Jesus is, maybe you don't quite get it yet. Because let me tell you, once you meet Jesus, you cannot help but talk about him. Once you've seen how he loves you, you can't help but want other people to know him the way that you do. Sometimes we get caught up and we get distracted, but at the end of the day, we are compelled by love. And I would certainly encourage almost everyone to jump in. I do want to say before this, thank you so much, Dan and Jesse, for leading this trip. I knew you before this mostly as friends of my parents. I thought you were cool and fun, but I didn't know how cool and how fun. So thank you for your generosity, your leadership.
Last thing for me, and if you don't have any more questions, if any of you have any questions about missions, just want to learn more, take a look. Any one of them up there, they will spill their heart out about the missions trip, including me. So if you see me in the parking lot on a Sunday and you just want to ask me a few questions, we'll step to the side and we'll talk about it.
And thank Colin for doing all the music and videos, and he's behind the scenes, but you did such a great job. So everyone just kind of pulled themselves together, and it just came out so beautifully.